All right, this is a review for the quiz tomorrow. I'll go page by page and then zoom in on each problem as it happens. Notice I wrote SOHCAHTOA at the top. You should probably do that too, just for reference. So in the first one, you see your 90-degree angle, and then the only other angle you have is 25. You could figure out the other angle, but you don't need to. So when you're looking at 25 degrees, the side across from it is 12, that's opposite, and then x is a hypotenuse. So based on SOHCAHTOA, we have to use sine because we have opposite and hypotenuse in our problem. So sine of 25 is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. So when you set up the proportion, you have to make them both fractions so that you can cross multiply. 1 times 12 is 12 equals sine 25 times x. To get x by itself, you divide each side by sine 25. And x should be 28.39. The next one's the same deal. You have your right angle. We notice that the other angle we have is 43 degrees. So figure out which sides are labeled what based on where 43 degrees is in the triangle. So this is adjacent to 43. This is hypotenuse. We would have to use cosine because of adjacent and hypotenuse. And so you set it up the same. X is adjacent, 32 is hypotenuse, and we have this proportion. Cross multiply. X is by itself already, so that's nice. You get cosine of 43 times 32. That means x is 23.4. If you didn't get that, check your calculator and try and make sure if you hit mode, it should be in degrees and not radians. All right, same deal here. We don't have the angle, but we're trying to find x in degrees. So we look at the triangle from x's perspective. We have opposite and we have adjacent. We don't know the hypotenuse, so we're not going to use it. So that means we have to set up the trig function that uses opposite and adjacent. That's tangent. And we don't have the angle, so this will be a little bit different than last time. This is where we actually, to find the angle, we use the inverse trig functions. So we would set it up as x is equal to tan inverse of 3/18. So be sure to hit the second button for tangent to get tan inverse, and your angle measurement is 9.46 degrees. For the last problem on this page, you should read it first before I start explaining it. So do that now. All right, so basically we're trying to find that, but also AE right there. We already know what AE is. It's 15. So the total height of the puffins above the water is x plus 15. We'll just add 15 to our answer once we get it. To find x, we know that we're starting at 28 degrees. From that perspective, x across from it is the opposite, and 40 right next to it is adjacent. So we're going to use tan again and say tangent of 28 is opposite over adjacent. So you can set up a proportion again. X is times 1. Tan 28 is times 40. So it's just tan 28 times 40. And when you use your calculator, you get that side to be 21.27 feet. But then remember, you want the whole side BE. That's the height of the puffins above the water. And so add 15 to that, and you'll get 36.27 feet. On this page, you'll notice that the triangles do not indicate that they're a right triangle, so you can't use the regular trigonometric functions like sine, cosine, and tangent. Instead, we'll want to try and use law of sines wherever possible because it's easier than law of cosines. Unfortunately, in the first one, number 5, you notice that you don't have a pair of angle and opposite side. For instance, if you called angle L C, then this would be side little c. The others could be either one, so maybe this is B, and this is little b, and this is A, and this is little a. So since you don't have a pair of each, you can't use law of sines. We're stuck with using law of cosines. So we have to set up the equation using law of cosines. We're looking for c squared. We have a and b squared, so that's 38 squared plus 55 squared minus 2 times a times b times cosine of c, which is 40. So you do have to use order of operations here. I mean, we should be doing exponents first, and then all of the multiplication of this, and then lastly you would add them. You would add them and subtract that. So when you use your calculator, make sure you're doing it in that order of operations. When I put into the calculator, I got c squared was equal to 1266.93, and then you have to square root each side in order to get the actual value for c. So c is really 35.59. And since every other value in this is just whole numbers, we may as well round to the whole number too. So let's just say c is 36. Since it wants you to solve the triangle, we need to find angles M and K still, or A and B in our situation. The nice thing is you only have to use law of cosines once, because then we'll have enough information to solve for the rest of the angles. And we'll only have to use law of sines once, because once you have two angles, you could find the third by adding up to 180. So let's just find B for fun. So we would set up saying sine of B over 55, that's the side opposite it, is equal to sine of C, which is 40, over 36. Now we cross multiply. When we cross multiply, we'll get a whole bunch of stuff here. This is sine B times 36 equals sine of 40 times 55. We want to get sine B alone, so we'll divide by 36. And then ultimately, now we have sine of B. To find the angle, you use inverse sine. So it's really just going to look like this when if you put it in your calculator all at once. Inverse sine of sine 40 times 55, this will want to be sectioned off, over 36. Again, you can do it step by step with all of these and turn it into a decimal first. Totally fine. And I got 79.12 degrees Again, since everything is whole numbers in this already, let's just leave it as a whole number. 79 degrees. And then angle A that we're missing, we can add up 79 and 40 to get what the missing angle is. And it's 61. So we've solved the rest of the triangle. This next problem, number 6, you'll notice right away you have a pair of corresponding angles and sides. So those are opposite each other, meaning we can use law of sines. We have to find angle y first because we have its side opposite it. So you'd set it up saying sine of y over 13 is equal to sine of 123 over 24. Cross multiply. This is sine of y times 24 is 13 times sine of 123. Get sine y by itself, and eventually y by itself. So you'll have y, since we're finding an angle, we're sine inversing both sides. 13 times sine 123 over 24. Again, you can type all of this into your calculator at once, or you can do it piece by piece, whatever allows you to successfully complete it. So inverse sine of 13 times sine 123 divided by 24 is 27 degrees for y. And then we would want to do the easiest method to find x, so they all have to add up to 180. 123 plus 27 gives us 30 degrees for x. Now we have one last side to find. We don't know side opposite x, so let's just call that little x, I guess, this side. So we'll set up another law of sines proportion and solve for that one. So we need sine of 30 over x. And we can use either one of the other ones. Let's just stick with the one we used first, sine of 123 over 24. Same situation with cross multiplication, but we don't have to inverse sine this time. So those will get cross multiplied. X times sine 123 equals sine of 30 times 24 divided by sine of 123. Sorry, I'm really messy. And when I put that all in the calculator, be sure to close off your parentheses. You can put all this in the calculator all at once, but you want to make sure you close these parentheses off in your calculator when you do it. And then when I did it, I got 14.3, but we'll just leave it as 14 because all the others are whole numbers. That looks like an M. And as usual, we'll save the best for last here. You don't have any angles, so the only option for you is to use law of cosines, and it's the fun method at that. You have to solve for your largest angle first. We know which one that is based on which angle is opposite the largest side. So it has to be angle A. That means we're going to be saying cosine of A on one end, and that means A squared is on the other end. And then everything else in the middle is the same as how it always unfolds. So we'll say 25 squared. Then we have 21 squared plus 11 squared minus 2 times 11 times 21 times cosine A. Ultimately, you're going to solve for this term, and then you'll inverse cosine each side. In order to do that, you need to get everything that's with it out of there. So we can simplify some things first. This is 625. This is 441 plus 121. And this is 924 times cosine A. So you're going to subtract everything across first before you divide by this number. So we'll subtract 441 and 121, or you could add those up first and then subtract just one number. So this would be 562 that you're subtracting across. And we get 63 is equal to negative 924 times cosine A. Next, you're going to divide by the number that's with cosine A, negative 924. And you're going to get some decimal. It's negative 0.0681181818 repeating. I would just leave it in your calculator rather than write down all your decimals. And you do want those decimals to, you want most of the decimal places. So you can get an accurate angle measurement when you inverse cosine. But just leave it in your calculator. Your next step, you'd say inverse cosine of the answer you just got. And that is inverse cosine of negative 0.0681. It's actually 81 repeating. And when you do it, you get 93.9 degrees. That's A. I'll use green to fill this in, just because it's a different color. 93.9. At this point, I would use law of sines. We'd say sine of 93.9, because we have a pair now, equal to sine of, let's say, C over 21. Cross multiply, divide, and get sine by itself. So you'll then need to cross multiply. You'll get sine of 93.9 times 21 equals 25 times sine of C. Divide 25 to each side. And then you'll need to inverse sine both sides to get C by itself. So essentially, your next step is to, you'll just have C, and then inverse sine of everything you just had over there. So sine of 93.9 times 21 divided by 25. And that gives me 56.9 degrees. So you have angle C, we have angle A. So to figure out angle B, just add, they have to add to 180. So take 180 and subtract both off. I got 29.2. So we'll try to use a different color here. Angle B is 29.2.